Okay, hi all. Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon to all of you. Okay, so today we're going to continue our topic, which is organizational culture. So this topic, everything is all about culture. So let's proceed to the next slide. Okay, this is what we're going to learn today. So this is our learning outcome for this week. We need to know what is actually organizational culture, the evolution, the impact of culture on strategy, element of organizational culture, importance of culture and leadership, and also we're going to have like changes in organizational culture. So why people resist to change and the theory of changes. All right. Okay. First of all, you need to understand what is actually culture. Okay, what is culture? Okay, as you can see here, culture is actually the entire way of life for a group of people. So it's including, they are both material and also symbolic element, and it is a lens through which one view to the world, and it is passed from one generation to the next, and it what makes us as a human. So we in Malaysia, we also have our own culture, or in Malay we call it as a budaya. Okay. Even you in the working space, also working place, you also have what kind of budaya kerja, working culture. Okay, so this culture is actually way of life. So once culture, you can say it's like iceberg. Okay, you can see like this is iceberg. Okay, this is iceberg, and you know iceberg, upstairs, the one up is visible, something you can see above the water, something that you can see, and down one below the water we said as a non-invisible, non-visible or invisible. So below the water we can see culture is like iceberg, and this is visible and non-invisible. It is invisible. So visible, normally something that you can see, the obvious, tangible. Okay, it's include the behavior, and while the non-visible is like something that you cannot see, that include your perception, attitude, values, and also belief. So this is the example of visible and non-visible culture. Okay, with visible, something that you can see is include the dress. Okay, the dress, if you are age, you can see whether you dress the dress. Okay, race and also ethnicity, your gender, your language, eye behavior, facial expression. So something that you can see is a visible. Right, then we have a non-visible non-visible culture. It's include the body language, okay, sense of self, notion of modesty, concept of cleanness, emotional response patterns, rules of social interaction, family practice, decision making process, approaches to problem solving, concept of justice, value and fairness, perception of mental health, illness, disability, patterns of superior and subordinate roles in the relation of status by age, gender, class. Okay, this is the culture, actually something that you can see and something you cannot see. Okay. Okay, now we need to know why organizational culture is important. So why it is very important. Okay. Okay, so actually the organization culture is something like your practice in the organization, what is your belief or norms in the organization. So actually if you have a very good organizational culture, is actually bring the identity to your organization. So some organization, they have very good culture, some organization they don't have a very good culture. So what is the importance of organizational culture? So this is the importance. Number one is unity of workplace. This organization culture is going to bring your workplace into one. Okay, all of you are going to follow the same culture, so that's why they're going to have a unity of the workplace. Then they have a loyalty, encourage the employee to stay motivated and loyal. So if they have a very good culture in their organization, so they're going to have the loyalty, encourage, means people will stay in that organization because they're going to be loyal, stay in the organization, and they will stay motivated because of the good organizational culture. Then we have a competition. So this competition is actually to motivate the employees to perform. It's a good competition between the employees, so we're going to motivate all the employees to perform well. Then we have a direction. So by having the organization culture, you actually have a direction of the organization. So all the employees, they are clarity they know their responsibility and their roles in the organization. Then we have identity. So identity, organization culture is part of the identity of your organization. So your organization is well known because of your culture. I can give you an example like Google. They have very good culture. It's very relaxed culture. So this kind of culture will bring the identity to your organization. Okay. The last one of the importance of the organizational culture is build healthy relationship. Means that they're going to attract the best out of each team members between the team member. So they're going to have a very good healthy relationship even though they are compete each other. Okay. Next, we move to the next slide. Okay, we're going to have this is the level of corporate culture. Corporate culture, we have this level. We have a core value, we have an express value, and we have a visible culture. So core value is actually the main value, means the main principle or belief that a person, organization view as being the central of importance. Means the fundamental belief. The core value is the main value, the fundamental belief of that organization. Okay, this one is fundamental belief. Okay, fundamental belief. Okay, then we have the express value. Okay, express value means that the employees, they are value the statement and also the outward expression of the behavior that we say method to engagement style that we claim to employ a certain aspect for our life. Express means that you're going to show your expression. Okay, that's the value. Show the expression in the certain aspect of our life. Okay, in the corporate culture. And lastly, we have a visible culture. As I told you in that iceberg theory just now, okay, visible culture is something that you can see, something you can see easily, is tangible. It include the artifacts, the symbols, practice. Maybe it can include all the races, all the language, colors, dress, ethics, and also all the traditions, something you can see. So this is the 3 level of corporate culture. We have core, we have express, and we have visible. Okay, now we go to the level of organizational culture. There are 3 levels of organizational culture. We have artifact, values, and also assumption. So we go one by one. So what is actually artifact? Okay, artifact is a symbol of culture in the physical and social work environment. So the example of artifacts is include maybe the organizational art design or logo. Okay, art design or logo, their building and also decoration, the dress and appearance, the material item, maybe they have a special arrangement, ceremony, rituals, communication pattern, they can have a tradition of custom, rewards, and also the punishment, and so on. Okay, this is example of artifact, the symbol of the culture of the organization. Then we have a value. They can be exposed what members and organizations say the value, and also enacted, reflected in the way the individuals actually behave. So example of values is include the norms about what is right and wrong, what is important and what is not important, the slogans, and also the mission statement. And lastly, we have assumption, means a deeply held belief that guide behavior and tell members of an organization about how perceived and think about things, how you do the assumption, perception. Okay, it's include your belief, your perception, okay, about how the organization operate. It can be unwritten but widely known. It can be that this assumption is not like you're not going to document it, but everyone in the organization will know, shared, and also we follow. Okay, this is the level of the organizational culture. We have artifact, values, and assumption. Okay, next, what are the primary characteristics that capture the essence of organizational culture? What are the characteristics that normally capture the essence of organization structure? Okay, this is the primary characteristic. We have innovation and risk taking, attention to detail, outcome orientation, people orientation, team orientation. We have aggressiveness and stability. So this one, if I ask you a question, just memorize only 5. Okay, we have innovation and risk taking, attention to detail, outcome orientation, people orientation, team orientation, aggressiveness, and also stability. Okay, next we proceed to the function of organizational culture. So what is the function? First, culture, they provide sense of identity. As I told you before, the importance of the organizational culture is identity. It's going to show you your organization. Okay, so it's sense of identity to our members and increase their commitment to the organization. Number 1. Okay, culture is a sense making device for organization members. Okay, culture reinforce the value of organization. Again, culture serve to control for shaping behavior. With this culture, you're going to shape the behavior of your employee. So that's why if you have a good culture, so automatically means your employee, even though they just new, they will follow that good culture in their workplace. Okay, the next function is they're going to define the boundary between one organization and others. Okay, boundary, convey a sense of identity for its members. Same thing, facilitate the generation of commitment to something larger than self-interest, enhance the stability of the social system, and also serve as a sense-making and control mechanism for fitting employees in the organization. So if you think that this thing is very difficult for you to memorize, so I can help you giving the very short organizational culture function. Number 1 is you to enhance control. Okay, let me write. Number 1, you're going to enhance okay, let's continue. So the easiest way for you to understand or to memorize this function of organizational culture, first, organizational culture, they enhance control. Okay, improve decision making, enhance cooperation, shared perception, enhance commitment, improve communication, justification of behavior, and also enhance control. Okay, these are the important function of organizational culture. So just need to memorize only 5. Okay, now let's move to the types of culture. Okay, it's actually there's 3 general types of a culture cluster. Okay, we have a constructive culture cluster, passive defensive culture cluster, and also aggressive defensive culture cluster. So what is a constructive? Okay, constructive is actually valuing members. Okay, valuing member, self-actualization, affiliative, and also humanistic, encourage normative belief with expected behavior or conduct. So constructive culture cluster is actually in member, they are encouraged to interact with the people and they approach tasks in a way that help them meet their higher satisfaction needs. Okay, this constructive culture is going to encourage among the member, okay, the team member, they are encouraged to interact with each other and they're going to approach tasks in a way they can help them. They're going to help each other to meet their higher order satisfaction needs. Okay, while passive defensive is include the approval oriented, traditional and bureaucratic, dependent, and also non-participative, punish mistake but ignore success. So this passive defensive culture cluster is actually in which members of their team, okay, they believe they must interact with people in way that they will not be threaten their own security. Means you're going to defend yourself. Okay, you just interact with people that will not going to threaten you or make you feel insecure. Okay, then we have the aggressive defensive culture. Is a confrontation and negativism are rewarded, non-participative, positional power, winning value, competitive, rewarded, and also perfectionistic. Okay, so this culture, the members are expected to approach tasks in the forceful way to protect their status and security. This aggressive, the aggressive means, right? So they're going to like force way in order for you to protect your own status and security. These are the type of culture that we have: constructive, passive, and also aggressive. Passive defensive dengan aggressive defensive. So this is the constructive culture. They are normative belief that we already informed before. We have achievement, self-actualization, humanistic and courage, and also affiliative. So what are the normative belief of achievement? Achievement, the normative belief is the characteristic is a goal and achievement oriented. Self-actualization is the value of self-development and also creativity. Human and courage, they have participative, employee-centered, and also supportive. And affiliative, high priority on constructive interpersonal relationship and focus on the work satisfaction. So in this constructive culture, people in the organization, they are encouraged to be in communication with their co-workers and work as a team rather than work as an individual. So their main focus is this one. The achievement, self-actualization, humanistic encourage, and also affiliative. So this construction culture, people in the organization, they try to communicate and with their co-workers, and they normally work as a team rather than work only as a individuals. Next we have a passive defensive culture. So the normative beliefs is actually approval, conventional, dependent, and also avoidance. So for approval, their characteristics include they're going to avoid conflict, strive to be liked by others, and approval oriented. Then conventional, they are more conservative, bureaucratic, and people follow the rules. Dependent, they're not participative, they're not like to participate, they're going to love to do independence way. They're going to do centralized decision making, means one decision making made by one people and others will follow. And also employee do not want do what they are told, means they just follow the instruction. And avoidance, negative reward system, and defensive, avoid accountability. So the passive defensive culture is a norms that normally reflect expectation for the members to interact with the people in the ways that will not threaten their own security. If they have any they will just talk to the people who they're not going to affect their status, or they will not they will focus on their own security. That's why they just follow. They just follow whatever, just passive and just follow, because they don't like to have all the problems. Next we have aggressive defensive culture. So when we talk about aggressive, it's actually more harsh. So they have a normative belief of the oppositional, power, competitive, and also perfectionistic. The characteristic, confrontation and negativism result. They're non-participative, take charge of defensive subordinates, and responsive to the superiors. Winning, for competitive, their winning is low value and a win-loss approach is used, and they are more perfectionist, persistent, and hardworking. So in this aggressive defensive culture, they more focus on tasks rather than to people, because of the very nature of the style. Their people tend to focus on their own individual needs. They just focus on their own individual needs at the expense of the success of the group. So normally this kind of style of the aggressive defensive culture, they are more stressful, and people they are being used this style, they tend to make a decision based on the status and opposed to expertise, because they have their own decision because they have status. So that's why they can do the aggressive defensive culture. So we've done all the three types of the culture. We have we have a constructive culture, passive defensive culture and aggressive defensive culture. Okay, before we proceed, let's go to the quote of this week. This week quiz. Okay, the quote is, culture 07 MGMT, no space. Culture 07 MGMT, or the capital letter. Okay, this is the code for this week quiz. Okay, as you know, culture is not like something that you can create immediately. Okay, something that you cannot create culture immediately. So you as a manager, is important for you. There's certain element that you need to see to manage the culture. Okay, so first is what leader pay attention to. You must if you are the leader, you must know what you're going to pay attention, what is the most important things that you think needed in your culture. Okay, how leaders react to the crisis, any crisis that happen, how you react to it. Okay, some of them, they really care about the employees, but some of the leader or manager, they are not really care. Okay, how leaders behave, how leaders allocate the rewards, how leaders hire and fire the individual. So this is the most important element in managing the culture, because all the culture that you have is going to create the organizational culture. So if you want to have a very good culture in the organization, so it's important for you to take care of your welfare, take care of the welfare of your employee first. Okay, so you have as a manager, you should it's not easy for you to create a culture. Okay, so how you want to creating and sustain the organizational culture? So we go the ways one by one. Okay, this is how you want to creating and sustain the organizational culture, because you can see in picture. Okay, this is the culture, or maybe this is a culture, this is a new culture that you want to do. So in order for you to shape this square to the round one, it takes time. Okay, you cannot like just create, and it's very hard for you to sustain. Everyone can create the new culture, but how you want to sustain that culture? So there's a few ways how you want to creating and sustain the few culture. We have the cultural symbol, we have the company rituals and ceremony, company heroes, stories, language, leadership, and organizational policies and decision making. So this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ways of creating, sustain the organizational culture. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Okay, when you talk about organizational culture, okay, it's actually the unwritten rules of behavior or norms that used to shape and guide behavior, shared by some subsets of organization members, and is taught to all the new members of the organization. Culture, something is unwritten rules. It's no rules. It's not been written or documented. It's just like you have our own culture, like Malay. We have our own culture. There's no written about our culture, but you learn from it and shape from that culture. So in the organization culture, this culture is actually unwritten rules of behavior or norms. Normally you use this kind of culture to shape and guide the behavior. So it's normally sometimes it's shared by the organization members, and normally being taught. If you are a new member or the new workers in the organization, you are being taught what is the culture of the company. So this is a factor. Okay, this is a key factor that affect the culture development. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 culture, 7 factors that affect the cultural development. We have technology, environment, geographical location, reward system, rules and procedure, key organizational member, and critical incidents. So technology, culture are affected if you have changes in the technology. Okay, culture are affected if you have changes in environment. Culture, they are affected if you change the geographical location. For example, the culture in Malaysia different from culture in maybe in India or maybe in anywhere in the world, maybe in US, whatever. So they have different culture. This culture might be changed due to this thing. Culture might be changed to the reward system. Okay, for example, before their culture, everyone in the organization or employee always come late in the organization. So one day I come and change the culture of that organization. I said, okay, if you come early 1 month, I can give you maybe increment of 100 ringgit. So automatically the culture will change. The rules and procedure also might change the culture, will change the culture, because if you have a strict rules, you're going to change the culture. Key organizational member and also critical incident, any incident that happened, this is they might change the culture of the organization. Okay, cultural influence, they have told you this is the thing. Okay, this is the culture influence, and also factors that affect culture development is the same thing. Okay, these are the big company or MNEs. They have developed the distinctive culture that clearly identifiable by its employees. So all this culture, this company, they have their own culture that all their employees are clear and know about the culture. Okay, Walmart, Sony, Disney, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, Toyota, and so on. Okay, so you can, if you have time, you can Google what are their culture in this organization. Okay, I'm not going to touch this. This is the example of the company that have the culture. Okay, as I told you, the culture also you can change. Okay, you can change the culture. There are forces for change the culture. One of the changes, forces for change of the organization culture means that you can just force your employee to change because of the environment force. So you put pressure on how firm conduct its business and the relationship between the customer, supplier, and employees. Normally, this environmental force is include, if you remember what I teach you pastel before. Okay, technology, market force, political and regulatory forces, social trend, and economic, and so on. Okay, this is the environment force: technology, market force, political and regulatory forces, social trend, and also economic. Okay, forces. Another forces of change. We have the internal forces. That this now is environment. Environment change is something you can control. If the environment change, you need to follow no matter what. Okay, so this force of change, internal force, is come from decision made within the company. So it might be oriented by the top executive and manager and travel to the top down direction, the direction from top to down, and they might be originate from the frontline employees to the labor united labor union and travel in the bottom up direction. Okay, bottom up, or from the top to the lower bottom, lower management, or for the lower to the top. Okay, as I told you, if you want to do change, it's very hard for people to accept the changes. So what are the factors that normally individuals they are resist to change? Why they don't want to change? Why they refuse to change? Okay, this is the factor. They have self-interest, lack of trust and understanding, uncertainty, cultures that value tradition, different perspective, and also goals. Okay, there are few factors. This one I don't have any slide. You can just write whatever I tell you. Okay, so there are reason for resistance to change. The first one is their misunderstanding about the need for change, or when the reason for change is unclear. So first they refuse to change because they misunderstand. They don't clear why they need to change. They don't know, okay, why they need to change. So they don't have reason for change, okay, because the reason for change is not clear. Second is their fear of unknown. They are afraid of what's going to happen if they change. Okay, fear of unknown. Okay, if I ask you to change now, you don't want to change because you're already in your comfort zone. So you fear what's going to happen next in the future. You don't know, so that's why you don't want to change. Then you lack of competence. because of, if you do changes, for example, okay, I ask you to move from one department to another department because you have a lot of friends in this department. You don't want to change yourself to the other department, so you just want to stay in this department forever, and it's automatically you actually lack of competence. You don't have a competence level, is very low. Then you are connected to the old way. You are used to it. You already connect. You already have a good in your comfortable zone. So you are really good relationship in your old way. So if I ask you to change, you don't want to change. Okay, then you have a low trust. Okay, you don't have trust. When people don't believe that they or the company can competently manage the change, they are likely to be resistant because you don't have trust to yourself, and also you don't have trust to the organization. Okay, now you can be like your research uses to change because of not being consulted. You don't know about anything, what they're going to change, so they not consult you what changes that they made, so that's why you refuse to change. Okay, another factor of people refuse to change because poor communication. There's no communication between the manager and the employees. Okay, they're supposed to tell you why we need to do these changes, so there's no communication between, so that's why people they think they don't want to change. Okay, then they change of routines. They don't like the change of routines. Okay, for example, if you change the manager, okay, normally the routines also automatically will change, so you don't want the changes. Then we have exhausted. You feel exhausted, feel tired. Okay, you feel fatigued because of these changes, so you don't want. Then you change in status quo. The status quo. Okay, you need to understand what is a status quo mean. Okay, status quo is actually the current situation that normally is the comfort zone, the current situation that without any change. This is status quo. Okay, so if any changes in the current situation without any change, the current situation, if they change, you don't want to change because you're already used to your status quo. Okay, another one is maybe the benefit and rewards is not adequate with the changes that when they do, because right nowadays I think everyone in this world if motivate by rewards and also benefits. So don't give you any rewards or any benefit to you, so it's very hard for you to change. You don't want to change, so this is the reason for resistance to change. I repeat, first is misunderstanding, because of the reason for change is unclear, fear of unknown, lack of competence, connected to the old way, low trust, not being consulted, poor communication, changes of routines, exhaustion, changes of status quo, benefit and rewards is not adequate. Okay, it can be this one also. We have self-interest, because you have your self-interest, that's why you don't want to change. Okay, lack on trust and understanding, already explained. Uncertainty. So uncertainty is you don't know what's going to happen in future. Okay, uncertainty. So that's why you refuse to change. Okay, because of the uncertainty, you're not clear what happened in future. Culture and value tradition. You are used to your culture and value tradition that you have now, and you resist to change because you have a different perspective and goals. Okay, you can see, especially people like old employee in the organization. Okay, for example, before they used to use typewriter and they ask you to change to computer. Of course, they don't want to do that thing. They don't want because they don't know the importance of technology nowadays. But because of the forces to change that we learned before, the environment forces, right? One of them is technology. So no matter what, they need to follow, even though they don't want to change. Okay. Next, we move to the next slide. Okay, because of people, they don't want to change, so you can follow, you as a manager, you can follow this model. Okay, we have a Lewin's 3-step model of organizational change. We have unphrasing, change, and also rephrasing. Okay, now we go one by one. Okay, we have in the Kurt Levin's change model, we have three steps. Okay, we have unfreezing, changing, and also refreezing. So we go what is actually Kurt Levin's change model. Okay, this Kurt Levin's, they develop a change model that involving the three steps. It include unfreezing, changing, and refreezing. So this model, they're going to represent a very simple and practical model for understanding the changes process. So that's, as I told you, process is a something that takes time. Okay, for Lewins, the process change and entails creating the perception of that change is needed, then moving towards a new desired level of behavior, and finally they're going to solidify that the new behavior as the norm. The model is still widely used and serves as the basic of many modern changes models. Same like our situation now in the COVID-19, we call as a new norm. It's actually the changes. Okay, first it's very hard for us to accept these kind of changes, because we need to go everywhere with masks, we need to go everywhere with the hand sanitizer, we need to do the social distancing, we need to do a lot of things, a new norm for us. So before we are used to these new things, okay, we need to like do this kind of process first, the change process. First process is unfreezing. It seems like you cook, okay, before you cook something meal, okay, that meal, for example, the meat or the chicken, okay, it's going that frozen. It's a frozen. So this the culture, all culture is actually something that it's frozen. So in order for you to make a changes, you need to unfreeze. You need to defrost it first. Okay, like change only can be, before the change can implemented, it must go through the initial step of unfreezing. So because many people will naturally resist to change, because of it's normal, the first time you see changes, it's very hard for you to change, you refuse to change. So this, during the unfreezing stage, is actually you create the awareness. Okay, you create the awareness. That's how I give you this situation now. That's how the Ministry of Health do. They create the awareness first. How they create awareness? Maybe they can give all the video. They can tell all the people the knowledge about what is COVID-19, how dangerous is COVID-19 or this thing. Okay, so with this kind of awareness, okay, you actually you try to have like, you have to know what the level of acceptability, and you're going to hinder the organization in the some way. So this all behavior, the way of thinking, process, people, and also organization structure must be carefully examined to show employees how necessary a change for the organization to create the maintain competitive advantage of the in the marketplace. Same in the organization. Okay, if they have the one what we call as a culture, that bad culture example, so it's very important for you as a manager to unfreeze this kind of behavior first. Okay, this kind of culture first. How? By maybe you can give them training, let them know this kind of culture is not good. How? You can do a lot of things. Okay, now after that you can they can accept like slow lah, sikit. Same like our pandemic now, okay? Mula-mula it's very hard for us to accept all this new norm, but now we are used to it. So how the KKM using the first day, they unfreeze our normal norms first, okay, before they implement the new norms. Okay, so this, during this unfreezing thing, communication is very important. Okay, so because it is important, the communication, because the employee will clearly know, okay, about the changes and what kind of benefits or logic behind all the changes that they do. Okay, and you must create what we call as a create the sense of urgency. Means you must make them feel that it is very important to do changes, necessary, and it's going to motivate them to accept all the changes. So the first unfreezing what we call unfreezing process is important. Okay, you must let your employees know why the changes needed in the organization. Okay, clear? Okay, after you do all the unfreezing thing, after you defrost then you can cook lah. So you can do your you can implement the changing. Okay, once your employee already clear, they accept all the changes, then you can proceed to the next process, which is change. Okay, so now that the people are unfrozen, so they can begin to move. So in this model, Lewin, they recognize that changes is a process where the organization must transition and move into the new state of being, the new state of changing. So this changing step, or we know as the transitioning or moving step. Okay, they marks by you're going to implement the changes. You make the changes come through. You cannot just like, okay, I want to do change, but there's no changes. So this is the process where you make all the changes become true. You make it real. Okay, changes are real. So it is also consequently the time that most people struggle in the new reality. It is normal for you to face a new reality. So first time you're going to struggle. Okay, because during these changes, people they are start to feel uncertainty. They're going to start to feel fear, and it's actually one of the steps that's very hard for you to overcome. Okay, you start to feel uncertainty, fear, and making is very hardest step to overcome. So during this changing step, so this kind of people, these employees, they start to learn the new behavior, and they're going to process. They're going to start to learn new behavior, process, and a way of thinking. Okay. Okay, the more prepare for they have in the first this step, the easier to complete. If you have a preparation, for example, this COVID-19, you have the knowledge about COVID-19, you have all these things, you know everything about COVID, how dangerous is COVID is, blah blah blah, all the things. So you if you understand about this kind of changes, it's easier for you to complete this change process. Okay, for this reason, education, communication support, and time are critical for employees as they become familiar with the change. So this when you want to become familiar with this change, you need to have like education, communication, your support, and also time. Some of them they can easily accept in a very fast way. Some of them it really takes time for them to accept all these changes. So again, this change is a process that must be carefully planned and executed. Throughout this process, employees should be reminded the reason for the changes and how it will benefit them once it's fully implemented. During the process, actually, you must motivate your employee. Tell them why we need to do these changes and what they're going to get after these changes are finished later. Okay, so you understand, changes. This is a process during the changes. Okay, you cannot just change then keep quiet. No, you must remind the employees, tell the employees, motivate the employees, the reason for the changes and what are benefit that you get after all these changes are fully implemented. Okay, the last stage after we do changing, okay, the last stage we call it as a rephrasing. So Lewis called the final stage of his changes and model phrasing, but many refer to as a rephrasing. Means it's going to symbolize the act of reinforcing, stabilizing, and also solidifying the new state of after the changes. Okay, after the changes, you're going to rephrase that new culture. Before it's unfreeze, right? So now you want to make it froze again, make it ice, strong. Okay, so it's actually the changes that make the organization process, goal, culture, offering, or people that are accepted and refroze as a new norm or status quo. The new changing, you want to make it as a new norm, so you need to refroze it, refrozen, refreeze. You kena bekukan balik. Understand what I mean, right? So Lewis, they found that rephrase step to be especially important to ensure that people do not revert back to their old ways of thinking or doing prior to the implementation of the change. So they're not going to this rephrasing process is important so that the organization, people in the organization, they're not revert back to the old behavior, old ways of thinking. And you must ensure that the change is not going to lose. Okay, they need to be cement make it like cement lah, okay, concrete. You kena make it hard before you unfreeze kan. You make it as a new culture in the organisation. So what normally you can do, you can give them positive rewards. Okay, you can give them positive rewards, and acknowledgement of the individual's effort are often be used to reinforce the new state, because it is believed that positively reinforced behaviour will likely to be repeat. So you can just give them any rewards. Tak kisahlah you bagi dia orang increment ke, bagi dia orang sijil ke, anything, to make sure they're not going to go back to the old culture. Okay, so hope you understand. We have 3 steps in the Kurt Lewin's change model: unfreeze, changing, and refreezing. Okay. Okay, so in order for you to implementing the organization change, okay, this is the, we have like 3 types. It can be top down change. Okay, top down change, that we already have 3 level kan, 3 level of management. It can be daripada atas, top to down. We can maybe you can hire the change agent, okay, or you can do the bottom up change, means from the bottom and you go to up. Okay, this is how you want to do the implementing the organizational change in your organization. Okay, if you choose as a change agent, right, so they could take the following steps to obtain the successful change outcome. Okay, you can establish the sense of urgency, means you can create something that you change because of, you need to change because of this urgency things. Okay, form of powerful coalition of the supporters of change. You need to create the vision of change, communicate the vision of change, empower others to act on the vision, plan and create short-term wins, consolidate improvement, and produce still more changes, and also institutionalize new approaches. So this is the ways that the change agent can take to obtain the successful change outcome. Okay, what are the ways or tactics to introduce change in the organization? Okay, this is the way. You can have a communication and education. Okay, communication and education. Okay, communication is important in introducing change. Education, you can do the training or make them realize why the change is important. The employee involvement, negotiation. Okay, we have cohesion and also top management support. So this is the ways of introducing change. Now we see the link, the relationship between organizational culture and leadership. Okay, then leadership, we're going to have another topics of leadership. So I want to tell you briefly what a leader is all about. So leader is actually people who can influence the behavior of others without having to rely on force. Means if you are the leader, you have of influence you have the power to influence others to follow whatever you said. So normally this leader, they are people who are accepted as leader by others. So what is actually leader going to do? They're using non-coercive influence to shape the groups or organizational goals. They're going to motivate other behavior toward goals, and also help to define the organizational culture. So when we talk about leadership, normally leadership, they have power. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 types of power that leader normally have. Okay, we have a legitimate power. So legitimate power is the power that you have through the organizational hierarchy. So the higher position you have, normally you have your power. So this kind of power we call as a legitimate power. Okay, then we have a reward power. So reward power is power that you get to give or to take back the rewards, whether you want to give a rewards or you don't want to give a rewards. Then we have the coercive power. Coercive power is a capability to force compliance by means of psychological, emotional, or physical threat. If you want to you have a power to give them punishment or whatever. Okay, this kind of power, negative power, we call it as a coercive power. Then we have referent power. So the personal power that accrues for somebody based on the identification, imitation, loyalty, and the charisma. This kind of power. Then expert power, power that you get from the people who like expertise. Okay, you have you expert or knowledge with the certain field. Okay, you have that power because you're expert. Okay, this is the power that we have: legitimate, rewards, coercive, referent power, and expert power. So this power we're going to learn in the leadership later. Okay, this is a brief one. Okay, that's all for today's class. We already learned all about the culture. Okay, so that's all for today. So I will meet you guys next week. So bye, have a good day.